I hope everybody's in right now, and I really want to welcome you to this webinar on how to drive sales with Google using smart shopping campaigns. Because we all know that in the current e-commerce landscape, data is a key asset to manage your campaigns well. Product data are your assets that you use to drive revenue, sales, and reach. And together with Google's machine learning algorithms, Channable can help you to spread your products all over the internet, from Google to YouTube and Gmail. And we will learn all about how to do that today. And to explore the possibilities of smart shopping with Channable, we're delighted to be joined today by Chewy Tang from Google.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. You'll be hearing much more from me in a short while, but thank you so much for your time and really looking forward to the session today.
Yeah, she will take you through how machine learning can drive results, the basics of smart shopping, and also illustrate this using some use cases later. So first, I want to talk a little bit about myself. So I've been working as an IT consultant and product owner for hire for the better part of 4 years before I joined Channable last year during the pandemic. Unfortunately, I've not really been able to see my colleagues in the flesh, unfortunately. But as I'm based out of Utrecht, I'm hoping that this year, when the corona measures are lifted again, that I will be able to see the amazing office again and speak with my colleagues. I'm real passionate about driving improving processes and increasing efficiency, as well as enabling data-driven solutions for our customers. And apart from that, I really love everything about Star Wars, save for the recent movies, but let's not get into that right now. Because first, I want to explain the contents of the presentation today. So we'll start off with a session about why we're hosting today's webinar. And then Chewy will take you into the world of machine learning and smart shopping campaigns. And finally, how smart shopping campaigns can drive results, including some of the use cases. I will then take you back into Channable, talk a little bit about feed management and smart shopping, and we'll wrap it up with a product and feature demo. And I'll have a little sneak peek at the end for a new feature that I'm really excited about that we're releasing in Q2. And finally, we'll wrap it up with some questions. So why are we hosting today's webinar? So, of course, first of all, there is an increased demand for more customization from our customers to have your advertising need that is specified to your every need of the customer. And we also have the data to back it up. Second to that, our partners have really been bugging us to release this smart shopping feature. And we're also really excited what it will bring to them. And we want to host this webinar to celebrate our most recent integrations that we did. But before we get into that, I want to start with the first poll. So, are you already using shopping campaigns today? And if yes, which type are you using? Are you using the standard shopping campaigns? Are you already using smart shopping campaigns? Or maybe using a combination of the two? Or you're still orienting on whether they bring any value to you. So I want to ask you to answer this into the poll. And I'm seeing that a lot of people are already using a combination of the two, which is really good. We have a clearly educated audience already, which is nice. All right. So if you're already using smart shopping and standard shopping campaign, this webinar will provide also to you some backstory about what's happening behind the screen. And of course, we'll also share some best practices tips at the end of the webinar. But first, I want to now give the floor to Chewy, who will share some insights from Google.
Thanks, Robert. I can +1 to the Channable office being super epic. I had the fortune to visit a while ago before coronavirus times, and I hope to someday go back once everything goes back a bit more to normal. Thanks everyone for your time, and I'm here today to talk a bit about machine learning. Why machine learning? Well, machine learning powers smart shopping campaigns, which is the main topic for today. So similar to Robert, I'll start off with a quick bio on myself. I think it's always helpful when attending a webinar or any presentation to know who's speaking to you. So in terms of who I am, my name is Chewy. There's my beautiful headshot. This is me at home. I'm a Googler of 4 years, working on various Google Ads teams. I'm currently based in London. As you can tell from my accent, probably, I'm not from London. I'm from the United States. I've been between California and London in the past few years. In my free time, I enjoy yoga, cooking, and in normal times, traveling. And I'm excited to speak about digital marketing today. I think just a quick note that a lot of folks are still working from home, and I know that we're all experiencing screen fatigue. So we appreciate that you've chosen to spend this hour with us. And thanks again for your time. So in terms of the agenda for today, if we move to the next slide, it's a pretty brief agenda for my section. First, we'll discuss why machine learning is a critical part of capturing consumer behavior in today's world. And then we'll spotlight smart shopping campaigns, which, as a lot of you seem to know, it's a Google Ads product that's leveraging this technology that Channable has recently launched in their platform. Now, it would be a bit boring if I just spoke at you. I attend webinars, and I think it's really boring when someone just lectures me. So it would be great to have some engagement. So as Robert mentioned, we have the question section, the speech bubble with question mark inside, specifically for your questions. If you want to chat as well, feel free to add your thoughts in there. But for questions, for ease of finding the questions in between the sections, please use the question section. So the first section I'll speak about is machine learning. This is a buzzword. People can use it interchangeably. People are like, what does this actually mean? It sounds a little scary, like robots are taking over the world. In reality, it's not that terrifying, I promise, and it can actually be really useful in today's digital landscape. In my next few slides, I'll talk about how. But first, a time capsule. Now, 10 years ago, bidding was pretty simple. You chose keywords and you specified manual bids based on the likelihood that that keyword would convert on a last click basis, usually on the same computer in the same session. For folks who are of the age like I am, you remember the days of the dial-up internet, the big desktop computers. These were the days when Google Ads first came out, and this is how bidding worked back then. But then everything changed. Then mobile devices came along, and not just mobile devices, but smartphones. This creates more signals that marketers need to account for, like device type, time, and location. Most of us now walk around with these supercomputers that fit in our hands. Mobile has fundamentally changed consumer behavior, and the growth in connected devices has only been increasing. This is having a dramatic impact on how we behave as consumers. We can instantly and effortlessly find the answer to almost any question in just a few taps. If you're like me, you probably spend too much time on your phone, but that's a whole nother webinar, a whole nother story. So the impact of this on the online marketing space is this. As you can see with concentric circles, the more signals we track, such as the ones you see in the outer ring here, that creates more data. This amount of data creates more complexity, but also opportunity as well. We can see that all these fragmented moments of intent actually generate too much data for humans to process. Now, because as humans, it's impossible for us to, manually absorb all this information, use it in a useful way. It's necessary that advertisers and marketers understand these fragmented journeys and how to engage with users throughout all these moments of intent. Furthermore, consumers and customers, as you all are as well, have become more demanding. Generic advertising is no longer effective to reach the right users with the right message at the right time. Now, if we talk about automation, this is where machine learning comes in. Looking ahead, 63% of organizations indicate that they're making investments in automation and machine learning, and 85% of measurement leaders are prioritizing this technology, according to a survey including nearly 2,000 professionals that we've done. Now, part of this change is resulting in a fear of losing jobs. This fear is saying, well, if the machines just do everything, what can humans do? Well, it turns out there's still a lot of value that humans can add on top of what machines do. In terms of the automation aspect, there are now solutions that take care of bid management and other tasks, such as keyword analysis and creative ad copy variations. These are tasks that used to take a lot of time, maybe tasks that you or your team or your organization have done manually before the past. This may be categorized as tedious, takes a lot of time, and isn't very value driving. With the automation, this actually frees up human time for tasks on the right-hand side to deliver higher value to customers, such as market analysis, stakeholder management, and competitor analysis, as well as spending even more time with your customers to dig deeper into understanding what really matters for their businesses. Machines cannot do this part on the right, so we still need humans as a part of the equation. Now, moving to the next slide, we can see that embracing automation and machine learning, it's not a set it and forget it strategy. It's not a light switch that you just flick on and then you just leave and you never look at it again. There are things that require human input. For example, understanding your business goals, or if you're an agency or a partner, understanding your customers' business goals, the competitive analysis and industry research aspect, the attribution modeling to understand business return on investment, and other things like testing new ad copy and landing pages. These things still require human input and very much still need humans to drive this. Now, that was a brief overview of machine learning in terms of why it matters, where it came from, how it can help digital marketers. Next, we will talk about smart shopping campaigns. This is a product that exemplifies Google's machine learning technology and is delivering great results. Now, moving to the next slide, we can see that the shopper's path to purchase has grown more complex. As we mentioned, smartphones are everywhere. That's definitely an aspect of it. But in terms of consumer behavior, us all as consumers, we can all empathize that we no longer walk into a store and purchase on the spot, or click directly to a retailer's website and purchase immediately on the desktop computer without thinking or going back after a few days. With this complexity, that makes campaign management a bit more complex and time intensive too. Campaign settings such as audiences, devices, bids, placements, remarketing, those take a lot of time to manually review and optimize. To solve for the problem of optimizing a lot of data at the same time for commerce, that's why Google has launched smart shopping campaigns. If we move to the next slide, we can see the key pillars of smart shopping campaigns. First is simplicity. We want to make the campaigns easy to manage as possible. Second is reach, finding customers across Google's properties. And number three, and the most important, is goals achievement, with automatic optimization towards the real business goals and revenue goals of the merchant. Now, in terms of how they work, this sounds great, but how do they actually work? First, as I mentioned, the most important part is starting with the business goals. We set up campaigns based on objectives. Next, machine learning uses automation to optimize the campaign's performance for the goal. And thirdly, these campaigns run across Google. As Robert mentioned, we combine shopping ads and remarketing ads to reach customers across Google's properties. You might wonder, what do I mean by goals? Currently, this type of campaign, smart shopping campaigns, supports two bid strategies: maximize conversion value, which is getting as much conversion value as possible from the campaign within the remit of the budget, or target return on ad spend, which is setting a target return on ad spend on top of the budget. Now, as I mentioned in the previous section with machine learning, it's impossible for any human, even Googlers, even very intelligent humans, to manually optimize all the retailer insights at the same time. And there are also certain Google insights that on the merchant side, humans don't have access to. Smart shopping campaigns work by using Google's ability to process lots of data with advanced machine learning, but also using the retailer insights as well. So for Google Insights, these can include things such as user queries, intent signals, and many more, as well as the retailer insights, things that only retailers and merchants have access to, such as audiences, brands, products, basket size, margins. These are things that Google also doesn't have access to, and these things together work in the machine learning algorithm to determine patterns that correlate with online conversion value. Then at the auction time, smart shopping campaigns use all of these insights to determine whether or not a user is likely to provide high value and how much it should bid to maximize value, which product is the right product to show to this user at this point in time, and whether or not to show an ad in the first place. Now, this all happens in just tenths of a second and achieves great results for retailers, as you'll see later in my section. So you and your teams don't have to spend the time to manually optimize. Now, smart shopping campaigns optimize across Google with one feed and campaign for all networks, with an automatic budget allocation across networks and formats based on performance and data. Now, what do I mean by Google's properties and Google's networks? If we go to the next slide, we can see that smart shopping campaigns find the right user on the right campaign at scale. This reaches users on the search network, the display network, YouTube, and Gmail. It's important to know that in Europe, which includes the European Economic Area, Switzerland, and the UK, smart shopping campaigns can be used with any comparison shopping service that you work with. Now, this all sounds good, but does it actually work? People who haven't tried this before, or people who are first starting with smart shopping, you may be wondering, how does this compare to normal shopping campaigns? We also have target ROAS for standard shopping campaigns as well. Why would I choose to change the campaign type? Well, the answer is it actually does work, and there actually is a difference in results. In a series of tests, we've seen that smart shopping campaigns have consistently driven more value for advertisers than standard shopping campaigns, even when comparing against other automated bidding solutions. Advertisers see more than a 30% increase in conversion value on average when using smart shopping campaigns compared to using target return on ad spend for standard shopping campaigns. In terms of real life examples, this all sounds good in theory. We have a few use cases, case studies for you. The first one is Alba Moda, a German retailer, folks dialing in from Germany. Maybe you know this retailer. They used smart shopping campaigns to drive better performance in their target market. They were able to strengthen their presence in their home Germany and international markets with a 200% increase in revenue and a 73% decrease in cost per order. In terms of increase and decrease, that's kind of the way that we like to see it. Moving on to the next slide, second use case example that we have is Sportmaster, Denmark's largest sporting chain, operating over 100 physical stores and a growing online store. Folks dialing in from Denmark, shout out to you guys, hello. Sportmaster launched their smart shopping campaign during peak season in Q4 and compared performance on Black Friday, which is a big deal for all of us in this vertical, and compared it to the previous year's standard shopping campaigns. In the comparison, they saw a 69% increase in return on ad spend year over year and a 26% increase in revenue year over year, showing that smart shopping campaigns can drive success during peak season as well. Now, after all this information, you might be wondering, well, this sounds pretty cool. How can I actually set this up? Now, as Robert mentioned, we'll be sending out the slides afterwards, and these will also include an appendix section with step-by-step instructions. But in short, there are 4 simple steps. Number 1 is creating the campaign. Number 2 is setting the budget. There's an option to set a target return on ad spend if you have one. Number 3 is selecting products. Targeting all of your products at the start is recommended. And number 4 is adding creative assets for display. Now, if we move to the next section, there are also some requirements to run smart shopping campaigns. There are requirements to run any type of shopping campaign through Google. For example, you can't use sensitive interest categories or violate any policies, especially around personalized advertising. Now, to leverage this power of smart shopping specifically, to find the right shopper at the right time with the right messaging, there are some requirements and recommendations for this as well. On the left-hand side, these are all the points that are necessary and required to run smart shopping campaigns. These include an approved Google Merchant Center feed, conversion value tracking, and marketing assets. Now here, first is the most important, the Google Merchant Center feed. This needs to be approved and optimized, which Channable, as a feed management and optimization company, knows a thing or two about. I'll leave it to Robert to share a bit more about that. If you have interest in this area, highly recommend that you reach out to the Channable team. On the right-hand side, these are recommended things to have in place to ensure that smart shopping campaigns have the best chance to deliver value for a merchant's business. This includes ensuring effective site-wide tagging, custom parameters, and sufficient conversion data. We recommend more than 100 in the past 30 days. It can work with less, but for optimization and for best performance, we recommend this ratio. And an active dynamic remarketing tag with at least 100 active users. Now, with the dynamic remarketing tag, just a note on this, we see that dynamic remarketing is far more effective than standard display remarketing. So even though active dynamic remarketing tag is not required for smart shopping campaigns to run, it's highly recommended to have the best results. Now, I've spent a lot of time talking. You're probably sick of hearing from me at this point. Thanks so much for your attention, and I'll turn it over back to Robert to share more about how feed management and Channable works with smart shopping campaigns.
So thank you, Chewy. That was actually really informative. I think what you highlighted about data is really a key understanding of today's marketing landscape. And also the setup of the marketing and the smart shopping campaigns, and we'll touch definitely upon that in the demo later on. For now, let's go through a few questions before we continue. And I already have a question coming in from Liza. Thank you for the question. And she asks, what is now the minimum amount of conversions you need for maximized conversion bidding?
Great question. And good news here, it's actually 0. It used to be that it was a minimum requirement to start. Now, Google's engineers have done a lot of amazing work, and we actually have no conversion requirements. Of course, if you have conversion history in your account already, that'll be taken into account when the machine learning gets started to run the campaign. But if you have none, it will also work. However, the learning period will just be a bit longer. As I alluded to in my machine learning section, machine learning runs on data. If there is no data to begin with, then the learning period to gather the data to optimize will be a bit longer than if you have data to begin with, but it can start with no conversions.
All right, thank you for elaborating on that. And then one more question before we continue from Christian. Better conversion when using smart shopping campaigns. Is this also for B2B web shops?
Yes, absolutely. The 2 examples we highlighted were B2C, but we do see this across the board, across verticals. The study that I mentioned with a 30% increase compared to standard shopping campaigns, that was across all verticals, randomized sample. So it wasn't B2C specifically. All
right, awesome. Of course, we'll continue with these questions later on. For now, if we go to the next slide, I want to launch one other poll just to see how you are currently managing your feeds today. Some answers are already coming in. feeds, managing feeds with Channable, or maybe you're using one of our competitors, or even doing all of this by hand. So an overwhelming majority of you are using Channable. I'm really happy to hear that. I'll go into Channable later on, so I hope I still have some best practices that I can share with you today. So let's continue right now by still sharing a little bit about us for those of you who don't know, and then later on we'll go into the demo. So Channable, of course, we're a very young and dynamic company. We have been around since 2014, and of course, being based out of Utrecht, we're still we're planning to move actually from our old office to a new office, which is really great. I'm really hoping that that'll get done. It's been delayed already a couple of times, unfortunately. But I think what's really the power of Channable is that we're really processing a lot of products today. Actually, 15 billion products are processed through our platform, which I'm really proud of. It's actually quite a technical achievement to have that much products processed. And with that, we're serving about 30 countries with clients and partners from all of these countries. And we're offering them a feed management and PPC automation tool. And with that, we're also a Google Premier partner, which we're of course really proud of. And if we go to the next slide, I can say that Channable is actually built around 3 pillars. And the first one is to lower the technical boundaries. The second one is to scale your business across channel. And the third one is to stay in control of your offerings, your products, and your campaigns. And what we mean with the first one is that we offer a plug-and-play channel integration, which makes connecting to a new channel really easy and straightforward. And the second pillar, of course, is an extension of that, because by enabling to reuse campaigns and rules in the setup for new channels, it's really easy to scale these out, and it really lowers the cost of going to new channels and to new marketplaces, for example. And then finally, we have our rules engine, which is a way to provide maximum flexibility and control over what is being sent to all of these channels. And of course, you have to get back the control of your data quality as well, because let's face it, data quality is of course one of the biggest challenges that we're all facing today, now that data has become more and more important. Let me jump in a little bit about what is a feed, but because we're of course all about feed management. And we typically just explain a feed as anything, a data flow that goes from importing the data, transforming it in Channable, and then exporting it to a export channel like Google Shopping, for example. And then the feed itself is, of course, the digital file that gets imported, transformed along the way before it ends up at its final destination. And if we move to the next slide, we can see that Channable adds the increase of the data quality in your data feed. So what we allow to do is to enrich your data, to transform it how it's needed, to fill in the recommended field, and to actually meet the exact needs of your relevant marketing channels that you want to market on and that you want to reach your end customers on. And finally, we make sure that all of your data is updated automatically, so that whenever new products or new campaigns are made, you don't have to manually go into Channable and add them to your feeds. We will actually fetch them automatically from the import and then automatically add them to the channel as needed. So in the next slide, you can see that we offer this for a lot of integrations actually. So we can import data from Shopify, from Magento, but we also support importing from a custom CSV or a custom XML if that is the sort of data that is outputted from your own systems. And what that brings eventually to you on the next slide is that you have full ownership of all of the products that you want to push. And you can use our rules to exclude them, for example, if they're out of stock. And I will also come back a bit to that in the demo. You can utilize custom labels to segment products into different campaign groups. And finally, this all allows you to filter and to optimize which products are sent to which campaign. And like Chewy mentioned before, it's really nice that you can do this because it's best to start with a lot of products in your campaign, but you might also want to take some products out of that are having little impressions and little conversions and put them in another campaign that will boost for visibility so that you can gather more data and that you can then put back into your big campaign so that it can be optimized for with the entire bunch. I'll speak a little bit about that later. If we go to the next slide, I want to also show one of, I think, really interesting features about Channable, which is called smart categorization. This is going a little bit deeper into how Channable actually works. But as some of you might know, is that if you want to set up a feed, you need to put all of your products into a category. And unfortunately, this is a rather tedious process. It takes a long time. If you especially have thousands of products that are maybe in 200 categories, and what we provide, and I'll show also this later, is a way to do a smart categorization. So where Channable will infer from the product data which category actually matches the best to the product being offered, and that you can really go quickly through all of this categorization. So before I actually dive into the demo, I want to wrap it up with a last poll. And that is, I want to ask you, what would be the main reason for you to use smart shopping campaigns? Some answers coming in. Optimizing ROAS goals is a very popular one, but also utilizing the capabilities of machine learning, which is actually very interesting. I think your presentation really called on, Chewy, about the machine learning. So, all right, that's great. And now I think we should put all of the things that we've learned so far into practice. And I will run you through how you can set up your smart shopping campaigns in Channable. And for that, I will first share my screen. And I will highlight 3 parts of Channable, which I think are important to understand how to get from an import to a smart shopping campaign that actually contains a lot of data that Google can then start using to learn from it to optimize your campaign. So first I'll touch on the import, then I'll highlight a feed, and then finally I'll go into how to set up a smart shopping campaign. So I'm starting on the dashboard right now, and if I go to the setup import, you can see that I've already set up a demo test feed. So I don't have to run this again, but I do want to run you through the edit mapping step, because this is where I can set all of the imported data to the Channable internal fields. And I've also already created some new fields that I will use later on in the feed to put data into, and I'll show you later why that is necessary. So I've created age group, availability, condition, and gender. So basically, my data is now in Channable, and I can also review it. I have mostly kids' clothes. If I go to the product, I can review what is already in there. So now, if I want to set up a feed, and I've already prepared one here, and this is a Google Shopping feed, you can actually get your data into Google via Channable in 2 ways. You can set up a Google Shopping feed, which I will show you right now, and you can also use the Shopping Ads tab, which I will show you later. But for now, let's go first into the categorization, because that is what I hinted on earlier about the smart categories. And what you see here is that I've already done some of the categorization for this, but of course it's not all. I have a second page still. And I just want to show you the power of smart categories, because what I can do, I can say delete all of these categories. So this could potentially be wasting hours of time in some cases. But now I want to generate the categories, and the first thing it will ask of me is, what field can I use to generate these categories on? And in my case, the most likely one is the product category, of course. And if I click generate, it will take from my product feed, from my import, the fields and the filter that it needs to apply to, and the value from this product category field. And now it will use this data to infer which is the best category to set this to, and it will show up as the top result. So I don't have to go all the way through all of this list and find it manually. I just can go apparel, clothing, shirts, and tops, And for the next one, also shirts, here is the dress, and the pants for trousers and coats. So you can see that if you have a lot of data, that this will actually significantly speed up the categorization process. As you see that I've now in under, I think half a minute, I've already categorized about 7 of these products. And if I click save, you can see that this already is 71% of all of the products that I have categorized. Now, of course, I want to also add some data to my feed, because if I skip one, if I go one part ahead, I see that some of the fields are needed in this feed. For example, I have this availability field and the age group and the condition and the gender, which I've already mapped here to the Channable field name. And what I can do here is I can, of course, I have all of these age group fields that I want to set to kids, because of course I only have kids clothes. And I want to set the availability to either in stock or out of stock. So I have this stock field, which I can say if it's greater than 0, then take the availability field and set it to in stock. And then else, if the availability, if it's more than 0 or greater than 0, if it is 0, actually, I want to set it to out of stock. So now I have this availability field also filled in. I only have new clothes, so I'm going to set that condition field to new. And I want to also get the gender out of my data feed, but I don't have a field that says gender, unfortunately. So what I do have is this product category field. And I see that the gender, what it is, this dress is for, girls in this example, is already in the product category. So what I can do in my feeds rules is that I can say, I want to take the product category, and if it isn't empty, I want to copy that value from product category into gender, and then I want to split this on the / so that I'm only keeping the first word. And if I save this rule, I can actually see that now I have a field that is called gender, which is filled with girls, which it actually took from the product category. So the way that I derived how to fill in these fields is that I have a description option in Channable that actually tells me which kind of values are available here, which are allowed. In this case, for availability, it's in stock, out of stock, and pre-order. So I've just filled it with that. And these are all things, all data points that will eventually also be used to optimize the machine learning algorithms. I'm going to skip the preview for now, and then if I review the quality tab, unfortunately, I haven't done all of my homework. It still has a lot of mandatory fields, but this will give you an impression of how you can actually set up the feed and already start filling some rules that you will also later on be able to reuse when you go to setting up the smart shopping campaigns, which I will actually jump into right now. So this is the moment we've all been waiting for, I think, and I'm going to take a sip of water. So I'm going to start by adding a new shopping ads generator. I'm going to take my connection and I'm going to call this demo smart shopping. And I'm going to add the merchant ID here. And instead of the standard shopping campaign, I'm actually going to select smart shopping campaign here. So when I click save, I'm taken to my first rule tab. And of course, I've already made some rules before. So I'm going to take the rules from the other campaign, from the other group. And I'm going to copy them here. So I already have these age group, availability, condition, and gender rules in here. But of course, now I also want to first say that I don't want to have certain products in this feed. For example, I only want to set up a rule that says the products which are more than 10 euros. So I'm going to say include more than 10 euro. I'm going to drag up, and then I'm going to say if price is less than or equal to 10, take all fields and exclude them. So all of the products that have a price of less than 10 will now be excluded from this feed. Then, of course, I also don't want to have any products in here that don't have any stock. Unfortunately, I already have this field filled that has the in-stock and out-of-stock value in it. So if I can create a rule here that says exclude out-of-stock, then I will drag that one after the availability, in which I will say if availability isn't empty, if availability is equal to, I'm going to say out of stock, and take all fields and exclude them. So now I've created this feed that is actually doesn't have any products that are out of stock. And now there are some things that I can also still do to increase the data quality of the products that I have. And there's actually 3 things that I want to show to you today. The first one of which is that you can put the brand in front of the title to increase the learning capabilities of the algorithm. But fortunately, I already have that. As you see, the brand love in this case is already prepended to the title. So I don't need to set that up right now. But what I can do is that I want to also add the color and the size to the title. That is as well as more information there is in the title, the better the learning algorithm will be. So for that, I'm going to create another rule, which is going to say append size plus color, create. So first, I'm going to say all product. So if title isn't empty, I only want to have full titles and empty. So now first I know that I have these 2 values already in my feed. I have the color and I have the size. So I want to say then take color and combine value. And in that field, I want to create a combination of the color separated by a space. And then finally add the size to that. So now I have a field that is filled with the color and the size. So I'm now going to say, take the title and then combine that with the color field. Like I said, where I've just put in the color and the size separated by a space. And then the title. Oh, I have to actually skip these rounds. Color. And now finally, because I don't want to have a feed in which I have the color and the size in one field, so I have to separate them again. So I will create another final rule that says take color and then split it again, because I want to split up these values. I want to split it from the color field on the space. So now I'm going to split the first word from the second word, and I want to keep the first. And if I save this rule, I can now review my products, and I see that I have in the title the color, which in this case is pink, and the size 98, and then also the color field is that is now still the size in it. And I want to say take the color split on space, save the rule. All right. So let's say I've set up the rules right now, and then I want to go over to the campaign, because this is where actually the magic happens with all of these smart shopping campaigns. So first, I want to create a campaign that is based on the name, or the name of the brand. And I want to target the Netherlands. And I'm going to add a budget of 10 euros. And now I have to make a choice. And like Chewy explained already, there's 2 targeting strategies that I can choose from. So the first one is to maximize conversion value, where it will just maximize over all conversions. But I don't want to do that for now. I want to set a target ROAS. And you have to think of target ROAS. If you set it lower, you will increase the reach. And if you set it higher, say 5 to 6, you will increase the efficiency of the campaign. So for now, it will be somewhere in the middle. I will set a target ROAS of 3, and I'll save that. And finally, as a final step to set up these smart shopping campaigns, I have to create these product trees. And I actually want to start building the tree from the brand. So I will map this brand field to the brand internal Channable field. And I want to add one other subdivision, which is the color. But I actually don't have the color, so I will use the custom label for that. And then I will assign it to the color. And I'll save it. And now in the preview tab, if I reload the preview, it will actually start building this product tree for me. It will start generating all of these campaigns. And finally, in this preview overview, you will be able to see, which kind of campaigns were actually generated. So if I now, for example, go to American Outfitters, I still see, like I said, this rule was still in place, but I have this this product subdivision that is now for blue and for the size still. But I'll fix that. I should fix that later. But for now, I will continue with the demo. And actually, this actually is all there is to it. So it's really easy to set up these smart shopping campaigns. And I think that what is really important and what you utilize from this presentation is the more data you can add to these feeds, the more you can actually use, or Google can actually use, to optimize their machine learning campaigns for. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen. I want to wrap it up, the presentation at least, with one final teaser, because we know it's 2021 and the shops are open 24/7, as we already discussed before, and they're generating data day by night. And we've already talked about how smart shopping campaigns will have your product show up on YouTube, Google, Gmail, all the while generating clicks and impressions and conversions. But the question I think really should be, are you already joining all of this data on SKU level? I think this is really a question that you should be asking yourself if you want to enable a more analytical campaign optimization. So at Channable, of course, we understand that collecting and aggregating this data is very tedious and error prone. And therefore, we've created Channable Insights. And Channable Insights you can use to import data like conversions, but also calculate ROAS on a SKU level, and then use that in the rules. And this way, you can automatically segment your products into specifically set up campaigns. For example, to boost high performers or to make low performers more visible, as I also told you before. Now, we're currently wrapping up this feature for the launch in Q2. And if it did pique your interest, you can, of course, reach out to your Channable contact person. And with that, with the demo and, of course, the amazing insights that Chewy shared with us, I want to wrap up this part of the presentation at least. I want to really thank you for all of your attention. And I think right now it's good to dive into some more questions in the time remaining that we have. So I'm just going to open the questions tab right now. And then I see we have a lot of questions. I see one question. Will you share the presentation with us? Yes, we will share the presentation. And I'm just going to pick a few of them, starting with the one from Michael. He asks, could the reason for good smart shopping performance be a huge proportion of remarketing? I'm going to ask that one to you, Chewy.
Yes, great question, Michael. Thanks for asking it. In terms of the performance, the goal of smart shopping campaigns is not to hone in on any specific inventory or any specific place where the ads will show. Of course, dynamic remarketing we see performs really, really well, but the overall goal is to drive that either maximize conversion value or target return on ad spend. And the goal is to put it in one place and spread it across all the networks. So yes, dynamic remarketing is a part of this. However, smart shopping campaigns are not only dynamic remarketing campaigns. You can have those campaigns separately, but we see that smart shopping campaigns really use the power of machine learning to spread across all the different networks and really drive towards that business goal. Before we dive into the next question, I just wanted to have a quick note and quick comment on the last slide where there is a mention of peanut butter and jelly. Channable Insights and smart shopping go together like peanut butter and jelly. I think that's a great metaphor. Also, I'm a foodie. We've been working from home and I've been cooking a lot. And a great metaphor for why the feed quality of feeds is really important towards both smart shopping campaigns and standard shopping campaigns is that if the ingredients that you're cooking with in the food metaphor are not good, if they're expired, if they're bad quality, then the meal that you make is also not going to be very good. Very similar, maybe a big leap, but similar in digital advertising. If the feed quality is not good, if the parameters are in there, if the fields are not filled out properly, if out of stock items are showing, if you have approvals or policy issues, then the product of the campaigns, your return is also not going to be as good as it could be. So just wanted to jump in with that metaphor before the next question.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's really highlighting again the point that data quality, as I think I also mentioned during the presentation, is one of the biggest challenges right now, because we're actually coming, I think, from a place that we have gathered a lot of data, but now that we have actually started using it, we need to curate it, we need to enrich it, and of course tools like Channable can help. And with Insights, that is one, I think, a nice feature is that you have this continuous data loop that you can use to automatically optimize your campaigns and actually segment your products without having to do that manually every day. I will go on to the next question right now. We still have some minutes left. It's a question from Susan. She asks, I already use Channable to expand our feed, creating rules and stuff. What is the benefit of using Smart Shopping tool in Channable itself of creating the campaign in Google Ads by yourself? Because it's set up easy and quickly already in Google Ads. Well, actually, it's a really good question. And I think what it ties in with the automation and part of it, because let's consider if you have the entire data stream coming from your backend web shops or your Magento or your Lightspeed, and if anything changes in there, you might want to export this to Google and manually check this in Google and make sure that everything is set right. But with these products, you might also have other purposes. So you want to maybe export them to other marketplaces. And of course, if anything it changes in there, you don't want to have to go in and change everything manually in Google again if you have hundreds and hundreds of products. So Channable makes sure that it keeps your product listings and your advertising marketing campaigns up to date. And it also allows you to actually pause a little bit and then reshuffle and make up the determine if you want to have maybe a new budget or a new campaign goal, and then allow you to push that all again. And then you have one place where you can manage all of your campaigns and how you set all of your data, and you can do that from Channable.
Just to add on to that, Robert, I think, Susan, you make a good point. Thank you for your question. You can, the Google Ads front end is there. However, the reason why we're launching this feature in Channable is to keep your work in one place. If you're already, as you said, working in Channable on your feeds and updating the rules and all that, it could be very easy for you to also manage the smart shopping campaigns and launch them from there as well. Also making sure that all the data and all the rules and the settings are fresh. So very good question. We're not forcing you to do it either way, but this option is there and it's launched to make your life easier.
Yeah, thank you. And I think the next question I want to tackle really tags onto that really well. It's from Mike, and he says, suppose the products that currently out of stock will soon be back in stock. Wouldn't it be more convenient to keep the out of stock products in Google Ads? Otherwise, you will lose your accumulated data from those products. As soon as you upload a campaign from Channable, it will create all of the products in Google, and it will then be able to pause, sort of synchronizing from Channable, so it will keep all of the products in Google, even if they run out of stock. So this sort of first out of stock filter was just to set it from the get-go and then put all of the products in. However, if this is a rule that you don't want to apply yourself, and like Chewy already mentioned, the more data that goes into, or the more products that go into these smart shopping campaigns, the better. You're of course free to use this, but then make sure that you have some mechanism in place that still, if you're going to advertise on these products that are out of stock, that you might have something on your own landing page that says that they currently will be re in stock, or that you have some other measure of getting them to the customers. So it's all up to you how you send these products. It's not a necessity to not send out of stock products.
Yeah, and just a quick note, just to add on to that, when we think about smart shopping campaigns specifically, if, for example, you're including out of stock products in the product feed and in where you're sending your the people who click on the ads, then of course, if they're out of stock, then there can't be a purchase. So then there is no conversion value coming from that click. That also is taken into account in the machine learning algorithm, saying, okay, if this product is somewhere that the advertisers are going but not clicking or not purchasing because it's out of stock, they can't, conversion value cannot pass because they cannot purchase. That's something else to consider as well.
And I have then one question that is specifically for you, Chewy. It's from Lisa, and she asks, is Google thinking about adding more available custom labels? The current amount is what I experience is not enough.
Great question. I wish I had a crystal ball. Big caveat, I am not on the product team for this, but our team is always continuously accepting feedback. I have heard, in terms of custom labels, the ones that we have, people want more customization. I can't say for certain, written in stone, we're definitely going to add more. It'll come out by X date. However, we are constantly accepting feedback. So if you contact Channable and let the folks know there, they'll contact me and we can bubble that up. That's the way that we can continuously give our product team feedback to make the optimizations that'll make your life easier.
Yeah, great, thank you. And then I want to do one last question to wrap it up. It's from Matthijs, and he asks, what are the main differences between setting up a smart shopping campaign via the shopping ads tab in Channable or via the feeds tab? I think that's a great question, and maybe I didn't highlight that enough in the demo. But in the feed, what you're doing is you're actually only putting products into Google. So you're making sure that they end up in your merchant center, and that you can actually then create campaigns with them. But with the shopping ads tab, it actually already creates the campaigns for you. So what you can do is of course, you can build these product trees in Channable, which is not possible in the feeds tab. And you can also already set these specific campaign goals using the conversion value or the target ROAS. And what is even more interesting, I think, also in the future, is that for both of them, you will be able to use insights to have ROAS data to segment products into both. So it will work for both of these. But I think that is the main difference, is that you use the shopping ads tab. It will already create the campaigns. You will have more management and more control over what actually goes into the campaigns via the shopping ads tab. Right. I'm out of breath. I'm out of topics, but I think yeah, we shared a lot. I want to really thank you again for your attention. Of course, if anything in this presentation has piqued your interest, or if you have some remaining questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can ask them, of course, via the support at Channable, but also if you towards your Channable contact person. And then with that being said, I wish you all a very nice day, and hopefully see you again soon in another webinar. Thanks.
Thanks everyone for your time.